How's it going, Top Forest TV? My name is Jack and welcome to my preview for Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace, taking place at the City Ground tomorrow. So yeah, Crystal Palace are a weird side really. They're one of those teams where, and I can't remember who it was who said it, but someone sort of summed it up really well. They could just as easily win a game as they could lose a game. They're one of those sides where, for the past couple of years, have not really been in danger of going down, but then they've not been in danger of challenging sort of the top six, top seven, maybe pushing Europa League. They just seem to be there or thereabouts, mid-table wise, come the end of the season. But they could either play really well and grind out a win, or play really well and like they have a couple of times at home. They've played lovely football with Eze, Elise, and Zaha running riot, and then they scored two, maybe three, and win a game convincingly. But then they could also just go and just not turn up in a game and lose a game that maybe they could have quite easily have won. They are sort of in Premier League terms on back-to-back wins in the last two games. They come off the back of a win against West Ham, which I think was a late goal that won it for them. They are off the back of a penalty shootout loss in the Cup to Newcastle on Wednesday, so maybe that's going to play in their minds a little bit. I don't know. I doubt it, really. But, yeah, like I say, they're a side that they could win a game the game against us. They could win it quite comfortably, or they could also, lose it. It's quite a weird one. You see sort of teams like maybe sort of this season, you kind of Newcastle's or your I don't know, maybe I would say your Bournemouths, not your Bournemouths, your Brightons, but they again drew to us. But there's clubs up there, sort of like your kind of Newcastle and things this season, who they're not obviously a top six established side, but in games against teams like us, you pretty much back them to win it. Whereas with a Crystal Palace, it's hard to predict because some weeks they'll win it, some weeks they won't. Just depends if they turn up. That's really it. I think Patrick Vieira's doing a really good job at Selhurst Park. I think they're playing, quite a good brand of football when they're on their game. They can play some really lovely stuff with Elise, Eze, like I mentioned before, Zaha getting in on the act. They set themselves up quite well in a defensive shape, and then when they go and attack, they can really cause problems. But I think, there are games in the past where you look at them and think, like I say, they didn't show up today and they didn't turn up and they weren't able to play the way that they wanted to play. And I'm hoping that's what happens this weekend. Forest on the back of a superb win against Tottenham. I know people were waxing lyrical about the Liverpool performance, but I think that one has to go down, and I think people will agree with me, has to go down as the best performance of the season for us so far. I think it was superb. From what I've seen, I saw sort of the excellent highlights. I really wanted to go to the Tottenham game, really wanted to go. But unfortunately, I live about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the ground. I haven't got a driving licence yet, so I can't drive myself. And my dad's been off work for a while with he sort of hurt his knee and he's not able to work, which is a shame. He can't really get to the Forest game. He's off work anyway, so he has to sort of rest up and he won't be able to drive that far. So I couldn't go, which is a real shame. But from what I've seen on the extended highlights and stuff, we controlled the game really. We were the better side against Spurs. And that's a Harry Kane's, inspired Spurs. They had a very sort of strong lineup, and I think that's probably to do with injuries. I think if they had, sort of the likes of Kulusevski and Richarlison, who are fully fit, then I don't think Kane would have been in the starting 11. I was really hoping that Kane didn't pick up an injury just for an England fan point of view. Obviously with the World Cup coming up very soon, Kane being England's best hope of goals in this tournament, one of our only world-class players. I was really hoping that he didn't, have to play in this game and then come off with an injury. He didn't, which is fortunate, but in terms of Forest performance, I think we were absolutely fantastic against Tottenham. And you look at Jesse Lingard, and that was by far and away his best performance in a Guy Baldy shirt. He played far better than I've seen him play at all this season, which is really good to see. I think he needed a game like that. Where he can get his confidence brewing, and hopefully we can see him chipping with a couple of goals, couple of assists, and really start to contribute in that fact. That factor in that I don't know if that's right, but really start to contribute and really be able to sort of add goals and assists to his game and add performances like he did. It wasn't just scoring that made his performance, a really good one. It was the way that he was gliding around the pitch. Really, he would pick the ball up, play a pass, move, get the ball back, make a pass, move. Which was really good to see. He looked like he was really confident, and he looked like the player that we expected to get. Really, I think a lot of us expected to get a Jesse Lingard who was full of confidence and moving the ball around the pitch, being skillful, and that's what he was against Spurs. And that's the first time we've really seen that, which is great. And hopefully he can bring that to a league game. We've got obviously Palace at the weekend, which I'm reviewing here or previewing here, and hopefully he can take that confidence and that the buzz that goal has given him. I know he talked about how long it'd been. It was about time he'd scored, and he'd mentioned that he wants to try and score some more, which would be great. And hopefully he can really start to up his act and get a couple more goals in the account. Which will be really, really important. I think it's a bit of a shame, that we start to play really well against Spurs, and then potentially really well against Palace, and then we've got a month off for the World Cup. We hit form at the wrong time, but I'm really hoping that we can. Obviously, I want us to win every single game, but I'm hoping that we can win and teams around us can lose, and then we go into the World Cup not sat bottom. I know we're sat bottom, but it's not really that many points to get out of the drop zone. It might just be a psychological thing of we're sat at the bottom of the table going into the World Cup, which it's not ideal. But hopefully, we can go out there, get the win, and other results can go in our favour. So we come off the foot of the table, which can give us a bit of positivity coming back from the World Cup. But yeah, in terms of our performance, and I think a lot of players that played on Wednesday have kind of given Cooper a bit of food for thought. Really, I think Worrell takes a good claim to start. You look at the likes of O'Brien. I think he got really, really good, and he should be in with a shout. I think he probably should start, if I'm honest. Maybe instead of Sheku Kouyaté, maybe. I would have said Mangala deserves a start, but unfortunately for him, he did pick up a double yellow card, and he is out for this game, which is a shame, because I think he's a good player, but unfortunately, he's just like Cooper said in the interview after the Tottenham game. He's been unlucky with injuries and fitness, and now a suspension. So hopefully he can iron that out and really get a run of games under his belt and show the Forest fans what he's capable of, because Cooper said he's going to be successful at the club, and I hope he's right, because I think Mangala, from what we've seen of him, he looks pretty good. So hopefully he can get that run of games in the side and really show what he's capable of. And then you look high up the pitch, you see someone like Lingard. Did Lingard start against Brentford? I don't think he did start against Brentford, but that's a claim for him to sort of get back in the starting lineup. Surridge, he looked really good off the bench. He wasn't off the bench. He looked really good, and maybe should have scored if it wasn't for Fraser Forster. So it's definitely given Cooper food for thought. I'm not going to go through my lineup because it's a bit of a tricky one, and I didn't get to watch the full 90 against Tottenham. I didn't get to see how everyone performed, so I'm not really too sure on that. But I do expect there to be one or two changes, and I think if I had to say, maybe if I had to give 3 changes, maybe I'd probably go Worrell at the back for Cook, maybe O'Brien for Kouyaté, and then Lingard has to start kind of on the left. So maybe bring Awoniyi back in, keep him up front, or maybe put Dennis into the centre, or maybe even give Sam Surridge a start. I'm not sure, but I do think there's probably, if I had to pick 3 from the game against Tottenham to start, it'll be those 3. Unless Renan Lodi? No, I think Renan Lodi started. against. Did Ronaldo start against Brentford? I can't remember. If he didn't start him. If he did, then don't. Anyway, if he did, then don't. No, if he did start, I think he deserves to start either way. Um, you know what I mean. What I'll say is, if he didn't start against Brentford, then I'll make him like the fourth choice to swap from that game. If you will. Anyway, I'm waffling, but yeah. In terms of a scoreline, then I'm going to go with Forest 2, Crystal Palace 1. Every single game we've won this season has been 2-0. So, one goal to nil, we beat West Ham. 3 goals to nil, we beat Grimsby. 1 goal to nil, we beat Liverpool, and then 2 goals to nil, we beat Tottenham. So hopefully we can win a game whilst also conceding. It's not a bad thing to win whilst not conceding, because obviously that shows you can keep clean sheets and be defensively solid. But we want to, win games in all manners. So hopefully we can win a game whilst conceding. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already to Talk Forest TV. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen, who you think might start, and all that good stuff. And finally, come on, you Reds, let's make it. What would it be? 4 points on my last 2. Yeah, let's go. Come on, Forest.